Everyone, today I have another altered thing and I'm sure you probably figured out what it is. It's altered CD case, a CD sleeve like this. So I've made some Christmas cards, and this one has a pocket where you could put a picture in here of your family. Wouldn't that be cool to mail something like that? You have your family picture, you open it up, and I didn't decorate the inside of this one yet, but you could stamp it or put pockets or, whatever. This one's kind of big, so, I didn't finish with this one. Didn't completely finish decorating all of these, but this one is one that was not tea dyed, and this is the kind I would like to do today because a lot of people don't tea dye, but I think you can get that look really easily. And I did do some stamping on this one on the cellophane. You can see it smeared a little bit here. I saw a video, a lady did some stamping on cellophane, and she had tried all kinds of different stamp pads, and the only one that truly worked was StazOn, and I don't have any StazOn pads, ink pads. So she did mention that archival ink worked, but it took a long time to dry, and it does work. I mean, this is dry, but it's, like she said, it's not probably the best one to use. If you have StazOn, I would definitely go with that. But so I just inked around this one, did some stamping, put in a little writing spot, and you can see the back of this one is white. If you don't like that, I'm going to show you how you can do it differently, that it would also be colored. Here's another one that I used some archival ink, and it is dry now, but it smudged a lot. This here is not archival ink. I used some of these markers, Microline, and just drew some more, and it did dry, but this has been a couple of days it took it to dry to this level. And again, I just put a little writing spot inside, and I didn't ink the back. But I thought these were pretty because the butterfly kind of shows through. And I was thinking for these, they would look cool in a journal as pockets or flip-ups. If that you did pockets, you wouldn't have to worry about the back. Or you can leave the back as a writing spot, so that if you glued it on the edge of your page, you would flip it over, you would have a spot to write, plus you'd be able to have your card inside. And that was my thinking with these two, is that they would go on a journal page. Same with this one, I just made like a large specimen card. I inked both sides. This is 2 of these CD cases, just the part with the window. And I think it would look neat as a flip-up page. Let's do one on the side so you can, because when it's down on a page, find one that maybe it shows through a little bit better. Something like this, it would look really cool. And it could be just an interactive. You could write underneath, put a picture underneath. And I thought those were neat. Plus I put little eyelets in so you could hang charms from these. And then on the Christmas cards, this is actually just one case. And I didn't really know where I was going with this one, so I did it sideways because I had intentions of gluing the flap onto an actual card. Then I decided it would be nice if this was the card. So, it would not cost hardly any postage to put this into an envelope. And the flap I left so you could tuck in a gift card, something like this. I stamped the back of it, and there's your Christmas card. I mean, you have everything. You have your, and then I don't know if you remember, I did some of these laminated napkin picture holders, and I'll link this video below in case anyone is interested, these were kind of cool. And here's that same napkin. And there's for your picture. You can write on this part. But anyway, I'll link that one below. But these were for, you could slide in your picture, send your picture, turn it over, you have your gift card. I didn't want to trim my picture down, but you could, of course, trim it down. You could even put a little tab on the side or a piece of ribbon to pull it out. This one is a flip-up card, so you can write inside. And I didn't use the napkin piece like this. That's what the back of it. Behind it, I just left it because I liked this cardstock. But you could slide in your picture like this. And I glued the flap on the back because I thought that looked kind of cute. I went ahead and put the napkin all the way up. And then, of course, you can flip it up and you could do the same thing. Put a little lip in here out of your leftover cardstock. Put in your gift card. You know, something like that. Your Merry Christmas, you could write them. You have a lot of writing space in this kind. And you could write them your letter. But I thought those were neat. So I thought we could make one with the napkin today. And one like the specimen card. I did tea dye some of them. I thought those were kind of neat. I just done it, so I hadn't made anything with it. I thought the stencil on this one kind of looked like a spider web. So these will probably be, or this one, will probably be a Halloween or a fall case. But if you don't have tea-dyed ones, I thought we could just make one really quick. What I did was I disassembled it, and mine has the flaps on the outside. Not really sure why. But I found it was easier to pull this up a little bit and then run my letter opener underneath. This works just as well with a butter knife. Actually, probably a little bit better. Or you can just tear it up with your finger, but I feel like I had better results. Well, and I just tore that one when I run something underneath it, and I'm not having good luck on this one. And on these, it won't matter since I'm turning it into a specimen card. But on the Christmas ones, with the napkin, you'll want it to stay. You kind of want to keep your flaps so that you have room to put your picture in. Like this will hold it up. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut these off. Leave the top flap, and I cut this off. And this would make a great pocket. You could decorate it the same and just make a pocket in your journals. So don't throw that part away. Not like you would. I'm sure you do junk journaling. You're not going to throw it away. So I'm going to tear this one the same. And actually, for the ones that you're going to make a specimen card, you could just run and open it like that. Probably be a lot easier than what I was doing. And then you don't have to cut off the flaps. Okay. Get all these out of the way. I'm going to grab a piece of paper here to do my inking on. And I'm not worrying about these pieces getting ink on them because you can always take a baby wipe and clean that off. So when I do my inking, I'm just real messy with it. So decide if you want your specimen card to be on a page like this or at the top like this. That's the only decision you have to make here. I think this time I'm going to make one on the side. So I'm going to turn it sideways, both of them when I ink them. And one of them, we're going to take the flap off. One of them, we're going to leave it on. Doesn't matter which one. I'll just cut this one off since I've kind of messed up. And you're going to want to cut it on this side of the bend because you want it to fit up there real good. So just barely cut it on the inside of the crease. And I've done this a couple different ways. The way I like the best, seemed like, was I just took one of these little brushes and just inked all the way around this circle, like pushing out. And that way it really leaves a dark edge on your circle. And again, it doesn't matter if you get on this, because we'll just wipe it off with the baby wipe because it's not going to dry. You've seen that on the ones I wanted to dry, so we don't have to worry about it drying on there. If it did dry on there, it would be kind of cool because it would give it kind of a antique look. And I'm not particular with it being an even blend. I like the splotchy because I think it gives it a better vintage kind of look. So just go around as roughly, heavily, or as light as you want. So on the one I kept the flap, I'm going to color the flap as well. Okay, I'm going to take my baby wipe and kind of wipe this down. Wouldn't necessarily have to do it so soon, but I don't want to forget. And you could stop here, but I like to do some stamping on mine. I used some book page on this one and different colors. And then I did sew around this one just to give it another look. I probably wouldn't start at the top. That was just me not thinking. But another thing, if you're going to use, like I used eyelets, if you wanted to use brads, you would put those on before you seal the two together so that your brads are kind of hidden. And I may do that this time. I'm just going to use some of this oxide spray. Squirt a little bit on there. And then I took a dry brush. Just a dry brush. And I liked that look that it gave it. Just kind of brush it on there. And then I also used a little bit of scorched timber. I'll wipe off my plate a little bit. And then I put some of this on. Just water to wet it down a little bit. Just use another cheapy brush here. Hopefully it won't fall apart. And then just give it some more texture. A bit more water, probably. Okay, so now I have two sheets that look like this. So I'm going to do some stamping. I just had a script stamp like this. Vintage photo. No, actually before I used black. This time I think I'm going to use vintage photo. Just kind of do them together. It doesn't matter because I'm going off the edges anyway. You could do so much more stamping. I'm just going to leave it where it's at. Clean my windows. And these are pretty sturdy, but I did manage to tear the edge of this one, so I'll just glue it back down. That's not a big deal. So maybe don't roughhouse quite as much as I did. I think on this one, I am going to put some brads just to show the difference. So let me grab those and we'll put those on first. And I'll grab some stickers too. That's what's on the inside of this one. I just did some stickers and a little bit of age tape. I know everyone gets tired of butterflies, but I don't use them very often. And this one looks like a moth, doesn't it? Maybe it is a moth. Anyway, I'm going to use that. Got some little brads here. And I'm just going to use my crocodile. And I'm not precise. My friend will tell you it probably drives her crazy, but I'm not precise. I am going to move this where I'm the same distance. That'd be about it as far as being precise. Actually, I think I'm going to use 2 brads and 2 eyelets so that I can still hang charms on the bottom. I think I like that. So I'm going to move. I'm going to put 2 on the top and 2 eyelets on the bottom. Put 3 in just one, or, you know, mix and match it however you like. But I want to be able to hang charms on mine, so I'm going to change these to eyelets. And because they're eyelets now, I want them to go all the way through. So I'm going to wait until I glue this together, punch my holes again, and that way they go all the way through. Making sure my little feet don't poke out through my window. So I'm just going to put this, I think, about here. I thought maybe I would put a little label or something on the inside. We want our sticker to be on the back one. You could always put a word or saying in here too. Using my bone folder to make sure it's good and stuck down. And then I think I'm going to put something like this. Then I'm going to glue it down. The main thing is that your circle, you don't see white from the other side. Your circle is good because you can always trim this down or ink it or whatever need be. So I'm going to go ahead and punch these holes again to put in my eyelets. And then this can go over a page like this. And I know I probably didn't get it very straight, and that's probably going to drive Laura crazy. But I mean, you could also, after the fact, put some words here to make it look more even. It's not, you know, can always be fixed. I'm going to run this through my sewing machine. I'm going to run it around the edge. I'll be right back. Okay, so this one is, I'm going to ink around the edges because I don't really want to trim those. I think I'm going to go ahead and put a word here just so that if Laura happens to see this video, it doesn't drive her crazy. Well, I'm not going to do that because I can't find my words, so it's just going to have to be a little off-center until I actually put it in a journal. But there it is. I think it's really cute. I hope you like these. I mean, I know that the backside, you could always put another tag where you didn't have white on the back if that bothers you. Doesn't bother me, but of course I like the strings too, so I like grungy. That kind of thing doesn't bother me. Okay, so now let's make a Christmas card. Okay, so I found my words. And I'm going to use this one. I'm going to ink it right on my fingers so I can get good and dirty. I hate for my hands to not look like they were cruddy all the time. And I think I'm just going to cut it and make it 2 lines. That look a little bit better maybe? I hope so. Love you, Laura. You know I wouldn't aggravate you on purpose. Okay. So now I'm really going to do a Christmas one. Okay, so these kind of require a little bit more dismantling. So, again, I open it up. Don't slice the tabs off because we want these for our pocket. We want that extra right there. So we can't slice them off this time. Of course, I guess you could slice them off and then just use like washi or something like that to tape the back and front together. You know, I did so many of these and I didn't have any trouble until I'm trying to do it and show you how easy it is. All right, open it up. Here comes one more little finicky part. So we're going to take off our cellophane window. And when you're doing, especially on mine, all of them may not be this way, it comes off relatively easy, but you have to kind of keep your fingers close to where you're tearing or the cellophane will tear. Of course, if it does, you can, like on one of them, I didn't put the cellophane back. I just left it behind. So if, or you, I'm sure if you have leftover packaging, something like that, you could always make a new piece. Okay, and there's my cellophane piece. And I'm going to hang on to it because I'm going to put it back. So I have a napkin that I thought, like this, maybe this one would be nice to put the Merry Christmas inside. So when you have your napkins, you know, they open up. And you basically, if it's a directional one like this, you have 4 squares. So you could potentially make 4 cards out of one napkin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off the square that I'm going to use. And I do that before I take off the second ply. I think it's easier to cut. And then I just run my bone folder or my fingernail over the corner. And then pull the 2 plies apart. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that this is actually going to be showing through the window, and it does. It's small enough. I was afraid it might be too big, but that looks nice. This is the part when you're getting ready to glue on your napkin. How do you want your envelope to be? I want mine like this because I'm going to use this as a tuck spot for my gift card. You could always do it like I did my first one on the side. Like this one, the pocket is on the side. I do actually like that. Either way, you just need to decide how you want this turned in the end so that when you glue on your napkin, it's not upside down, like I've done many times. So I think this time I want my pocket to be at the bottom, just to see. So I'm going to glue this on, basically, upside down, just like this. Like that. How I do it is I just take a glue stick and I lightly go around the edge. Like, don't push it because you don't want glue to get underneath. You want it to be right on that seam. Don't drag it or push it like I just did, because you don't want any underneath like that. You want it to be only on the front. I'm going to clean that off because I think I got underneath. Try again. So just barely go, because even if we don't get close enough, which we will, I think we can always fix it. But this is how I've done it. And I've only done a couple, and I can't say that it's super easy because this part's a little fiddly. You just want to make sure and not get any glue underneath, or it's going to tear your napkin and not in the way that you want to whenever it comes up. And you don't want it to be glued down either. So I kind of make sure I didn't get like that. But you don't have to do that part. Just, we're going to do it lightly like this. And then do your, around the outside, your flaps. And any that we miss on the flaps, we can always go back and get those. The main part is the circle. We want it to be down. And the rough part about, I'm just trying to eyeball it. I'm looking underneath and where I've got it to see if I've got it pretty even. And, you know, I may not have. The bad part about using a colored napkin like this one is it is hard to see underneath. When I used the white ones, I could still see my circle, so it was easier to lay down and get it centered. If you get any wrinkles, just lightly brush them out. Now, you don't want to use your bone folder for this part because it will tear your napkin while it's still wet. It will tear. I'm just lightly taking my fingers and see, I hope you can see that around the circle is becoming where I can see it. See, I can see the circle, the outline. That's what I want to see. And I want to make sure it's really good and down. Now, I've done this both ways. I have let it dry before I tried to peel this off. And it basically, I don't know, you might think it's easier to let it dry first and then open it up. I thought it was easier to do it while it's wet. So what I tried to do was take my fingernail or something and run it around that where it would be just a little bit easier. You don't really want to drag. You're just kind of, because if you drag it, you'll tear your napkin. But you're just kind of running it along there, just to make it break a little bit easier. So I did that all the way around. Now I'm just kind of lifting up on the front cover and taking my fingernail and pushing down where that line meets. And you'll see as I go around, it starts getting easier to lift up because it's naturally wanting to follow the cut that was already there. I'm just holding down the center while I'm pulling up around the edge. And it is kind of fiddly, but seriously, if you tear your napkin or whatever, we can always ink it, or if you get another napkin piece, we can glue it down. It's easy to fix anything. This part, it seems a little tedious, but it is relatively easy to do. Just main thing is go slow, take your time, and it will look great. And I would suggest try this both ways. See if you prefer doing it when it's wet or when it's dry. I couldn't tell much difference, to be real honest with you. It just seemed like that part is just fiddly. I mean, I don't have an easy way to do it, but I'm telling you, if you do, please share with me. Please, I'm begging you, how you did it easily. Okay, so now I have some spots that have white. You can use green ink there. You could use one of the distress crayons and color in. You could do a number of things to, fix your white. I'm just going to take some vintage photo and go around this just to give it, I like the aged kind of vintagey look, so I'm okay with that part. And then I'll go around the inside of my circle too. If you want to ink the inside of your circle, it's really better to do it now before we put the cellophane back. Just makes it a little easier to get inside that circle. We deconstructed it, and now we're gonna put it back together. So I'm gonna take my cellophane and I'm just gonna glue right where it was. I can see it was already glued. So when you lay it back down, you don't have to have it in the exact spot that it was before. Just make sure that you really pull the sides where it's tight so your cellophane doesn't look wrinkled in the middle. It'll look very smooth. So if you put a picture in it, your family picture, you don't want a crease right down the middle of your forehead. Trim the excess napkin off. And I think what I'm going to do at the top, I'm going to fold it over and glue that down. Not on the edges, but on the top piece. so that it's not, because it'll be a frame around once we put this up, you know, and this, those are going to have colors. So I think I want to fold over the top of that. Boy, my hard to do today with my glue is so sticky. So that when I fold this over like so, it's going to make a frame. So now I'm just going to keep cutting the excess off of the other corners. The only place I didn't cut it off was the side with no flap. All right, so I'm going to glue these back just like this. And you could use double-sided tape here to make it quicker. And then on the flap where I want to put my gift card, I'm going to cut this off where that seam of my napkin shows. We're only going to glue, well, and you can glue this down too if you want to. I'm not going to, because with this flap closed, the picture's not going to come out. A little bit at the bottom and the two sides. All right, so there is, now do you want your picture to come out the top? Do you want it to come out the side? I think I want mine to still come out the side. So I'm just going to trim off the slightest little bit. I mean, just a sliver. If I could find my picture, we would slide it right in the side. And then over on the back, you have a place for your gift card. You can stamp it, Merry Christmas. But I think those are really cool. And I like that, how that turned out. If I didn't have so many projects on my desk at one time, it would be easier to find things. But I think that you get how these work. And I know that you can come up with so many better ways, creative ways to do this. This is just a, hopefully to spark something and give us some great ideas for our Christmas, autumn, all of our junk journals. Thanks for joining me. I hope you like this and we'll give it a try. And I will see you next time, guys. Thanks. Bye.